In 1980, the Misfits released their album Beware, and my friend John and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray. Well, the Misfits were one of your favorite bands. They were your favorite band for a long time.
Long time.
Like, when are we saying? Like, probably like mid-'80s or something like that?
Yeah, about probably got turned on to them 85.
85, yeah.
Yeah, I was at my cousin's house.
Yeah.
Out here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
My brother and I used to come out on summers to visit, and we'd always hang out with our cousin.
Yeah.
And he was a big Judas Priest fan. And then my brother and I, we were like huge Iron Maiden fans, Motley Crue, Scorpions, all that stuff. Loved it.
Yeah.
Dio, all that.
Yeah.
Well, that summer, we went over to his house, my cousin's house, and we were hanging out. And of course, we always talked about music. So we were like, oh, what's going on? You get any new Priest stuff? Anything good? And he goes, fuck Priest. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I got something way better than that. And I was just like, what could possibly be better than Priest and Maiden? He goes,
shows you the sign of the times.
Yeah. He actually, the first thing he played was Uniform Choice Screaming for Change.
Yeah, well, that'll change things.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh yeah, there is something better than that. Then, what happened is after we heard the Uniform Choice album, he started playing some Misfits stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just, this is amazing.
Yep.
These songs are short.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, they've got these, really cool changes. I had his mom drive us to the mall so I could buy a pack of tapes. So, bought the tapes, took them back to the house, and he started recording stuff for me off of his stereo. Yeah. I still have those tapes to this day. And on those tapes, the Misfits stuff he put on was what became my favorite Misfits album.
Beware.
That was the Beware album. Very elusive. A friend of mine in one of my other bands, Violent Society, he actually found this and he knew I was looking for it maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So he got it and he, sold it to me. So totally excited. But this was the album that was on that tape. And once once I was I started listening to it and, then had moved out to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it constantly.
Yeah.
So then we moved to Pennsylvania. And I'm starting to get a lot of my friends at school into it. There were a couple other kids that were already dabbling in it.
Yeah.
So it was, we all clicked immediately, became really good friends. And this was the one tape that everybody always wanted to borrow from me because nobody could find Beware.
Yeah.
Without paying, an arm and a leg for it.
Yep.
And we're all high school kids and we had no money. So, but of course, I will tell you, I've never let a single person borrow that tape. Because I listen to it every day. And they're like, you listen to it every day? I go, yes, every day I listen to it. I had a long bus drive to and from school. Yeah. So, it was Youth of the Day, Misfits, Uniform Choice, SOD every day. So, this just quickly became my favorite album. We Are 138's easily. I mean, Bullet. It's Attitude, Horror Business. I mean, all these songs are just great. So this was my favorite album.
Well, I remember when I got into the Misfits. When you discover them, and it's just not me. It's like everyone I know that discovered the Misfits just goes all in.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need more. Yep. And
anything you can get your hands on.
And I lived up in the coal region of Pennsylvania, and let's just say there isn't a lot of options to buy records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the only Misfits albums that I owned were the ones I could buy at the mall. So it was Walk Among Us, Legacy of Brutality, Evil Live, and Earth AD. Yeah. And that was it. those are the four, and I remember I would, like, every day when again, the Walkman to school.
Yep.
What album is it gonna be? All right, Evil Live. The next day, what's it gonna be? Walk Among Us. Okay, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
And I knew that they had all these other songs, and I knew that they had all these other 7-inches, but they were expensive.
Yeah.
Like $100 for like one 7-inch expensive.
Right.
And you're like, oh my god, because I remember like being a Metallica fan. I knew they had like the song "Last Caress," and I knew that this was like a Misfits song, but like it was like a couple years after the fact until I actually heard it. But I remember they released that Misfits collection CD.
Yep.
The one that has the Fiend on them and stuff like that, and it had a lot of what would be on Beware. And again, that was the closest thing I had to owning Beware, was like the songs that they put on that thing.
Yep.
But like Beware was kind of like the golden ticket of Misfit albums, if you could find it.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I find interesting about the Misfits is they have their different albums, and each one has its own style.
Yep.
So my gateway into the Misfits was Walk Among Us.
Okay.
Which, it has all the classics. 20 Eyes, Hate Breeders,
yep.
I don't need to go on. Full on, straight up, like, punk rock, as it is. And then the Earth AD is, like, hardcore punk. It's, like, hyper speed fast. It's heavy.
Yep. Raw.
Really raw.
Real raw.
And then you go back to, like, Legacy Brutality.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of rock and roll-ish. Definitely. And then the stuff that was off Beware was like this perfect mix
of that. Yeah.
Like my favorite songs from the Misfits is like Teenagers from Mars, Children in Heat. Children in Heat isn't on that, but I think it was from the same sessions. And that's the perfect version of the Misfits that I love.
Yep.
The songs are short. The songs are real. They're real. It's almost like a laser beam. And God, they were an incredible band. So, I'm just curious, John. So, how much would this album be worth today?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while. I've seen it go for $400.
$400.
Yeah, yeah. And then I've got it signed by Danzig.
No, so that's going to raise up the value.
Hopefully, it did get smeared. That's a whole other story. Which, if anyone has ever seen me mad, this was beyond mad.
So you think this might be worth like $500 or something like that?
I hope so. Yeah, I would hope so.
See it.
When I got this album and I had it signed by Danzig, it was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And when we're standing in this line, his handler comes down the line. He goes, "No Misfits stuff. No, put it all away. Don't even get it out." Well, the only other thing I had with me was an old Spin magazine from the early 90s that he was on the cover, and this. And then I had the new 7-inch that he had just put out. So I was like, shit. So I put the record in his bag, and there I had the Spin magazine and the 7-inch in my hand. And so when I got to, Glenn, he was like, hey, he's like, how's it going? Good. And everyone says horror stories. I've met him a couple times, and he's been awesome every time.
Yeah.
So I gave him the 7-inch, and then he goes, oh, let me see that Spin magazine. He's like, man, I haven't seen that in a long time. And he's all happy. He's like, yeah, this is awesome. He goes, what else do you have? And I go, I got an original Beware. And he goes, I'll be the judge of that. So I pulled it out of the bag and I handed it to him, and he's looking at it, and he turns it over, and obviously, down here marketed by Cherry Red and all the notations that lets you know it's original, he just gets this huge grin on his face, and he's like, holy shit. He's like, I haven't seen one of these in fucking 20 years. He's like, hell yeah, I'll sign it. So he signed it for me, and then, so it's awesome. This is something I never even really want to part with, because to me, this was the holy grail of records.
Hey gang, this is Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please give it a like. that would mean a lot to me. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts, well, when I'm not talking about records, I'm talking about my other love, Tiki. I have a show called Tiki with Ray. If you want to check that show out, just search Tiki with Ray on YouTube. It'll come up.